Good morning, everyone, and of course, welcome to Zagreb and to this first session of our 2025 conference. The first person I'd like to introduce you who's going to join me on stage is Sophie Rayberg, the current president of Eura. Sophie.
I had this really funny one-liner that I was going to say to tell you I'm nervous, but I forgot, so I'm nervous. The good news is we made it to Zagreb. Now, some of you might know or have read it in the communication, some of you may have not. We weren't planning on being in Zagreb. We're not going to tell you where we were potentially planning on being because we don't ruin future surprises. However, do have some patience with us because this was a last-minute change, and we're very happy that we've been able to pull this together in the way that we have. Don't you think so?
Yes. Sophie, I would never disagree with you.
That's true. He says that now. We all know it's not true. Now, the theme of our conference this year is well-being, and based on the fact that probably most of you are going to be doing this very manic back-to-back meeting situationship that a lot of us like to do, please do remember to take care of yourself during this conference. Make sure that you take some time to breathe, go outside. If you need an umbrella, buy one from Eura. Make use of some of the coffee culture that Zagreb has to offer. Leave the hotel, be out and about, but most important, take the time that you need to be able to make sure that you're a happy delegate throughout the conference. Tad's going to start us off with some important updates.
Yes. Okay, so Zagreb, Croatia, is the birthplace of Nikola Tesla, who's known for inventing alternating current and developing three-phase electric power transmission. I have no idea what that means. However, it made electricity globally available on the same platform. And in a similar sort of way, the associations around the world have come together came together to form the Coalition for Greener Mobility. And so, as you see, CERC, CHPA, Eura, FIDI, IAM, and WRC. But we decided that we needed to enhance our partnership because effectively sustainability is one topic. So literally 3 weeks ago, the Coalition for Associations in Global Mobility was formed. I've now learned to say that. It's really difficult, but never mind. Anyway, more about that later. But the idea is we work together in order to promote our members, look after our members, and adding value to them. Now, for those of you who know her, Frances Edmonds has been a part of the Euro family since 2008 and has only ever missed one conference. For those of you who don't know her, Frances has been our conference host and has brought her considerable energy, wit, and flair to all our events. This year, she's unable to join us in person, but she sent us a little message, as only Frances could.
How many of you make plans? I bet you've all got a plan for Zagreb, haven't you? Oh, yes. I bet you on a personal level you've worked it all out. You're going to reinforce relationships with those usual suspects at the bar, perhaps forge a few new relationships. Professional level, I bet you've got it all worked out, all planned. You're going to learn from world-class experts how to make your business more efficient, perhaps, or more customer-focused, or more profitable. And I'm sure you've got other plans as well, medium and long-term plans. What are you going to do for your holidays? Perhaps you're thinking of moving house, moving job. Perhaps you're even thinking of retirement. Now, we've all been told, in fact, that a key index of maturity is this concept of deferred gratification. You know what deferred gratification means. It means the ability to postpone immediate pleasures in the here and now in the expectation of greater rewards in the future. That, of course, involves making a plan. The ability to make a plan differentiates us human beings from the vast majority of other animals. The plan. So just take a few moments now, here in Zagreb. Take a few moments to consider all the plans that you have swirling around in your mind now, right now. And then, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Because I'm here to tell you that life is what happens when you make other plans. This year's conference is devoted to well-being. So let's just think about this for a moment. Making a plan, well-being. Last year, after our Villamora conference, I started to formulate the Francis Edmonds master plan. After half a century or more of hacking away at the conference coalface, I decided to sort of semi-retire and join the ranks of the self-unemployed. I let the family house, this large empty nest in the middle of Notting Hill in London, Heartbreak Hotel as I used to call it. I was letting the house, getting a great rental income coming in. I was going to go travelling. Now, I don't need to tell you in global mobility what's involved in downsizing a family house of over 40 years standing. Over 1,000 books. Yeah, I gave away over 1,000 books. 100 boxes of papers and documents had to be shredded. Lorry loads of priceless antiques, or at least I thought they were priceless until I tried to get rid of them and nobody wanted them. Priceless antiques or useless antiques all had to go. And I don't even want to talk to you about the clothes and the shoes and the coats and the gear. Those were all given to the local charity shops, and for weeks afterwards I was seeing women walking around Notting Hill looking like my doppelgangers. It was most disconcerting. But anyway, off I went then to my place in Cannes. I was going to enjoy my newfound freedom. I was going to drink rosé, play tennis, and enjoy the dolce far niente. Now, I don't know what it was, but I just wasn't feeling myself. I was very, very tired. Of course, that was to be expected. I'd done an awful lot of physical and mental and emotional work to downsize from the family house. There was a friend of mine staying with me, and she insisted that when I got back to London, which was just before Christmas, I should get myself checked out. She says, "You're not yourself, Francis. You're feeling tired. Your energy levels aren't quite what they were. Something's up." And I was diagnosed prior to Christmas with breast cancer. No lumps, no bumps, not so much as a dodgy dimple. It was not the common form of breast cancer, which involves lumps. It was a form called lobular cancer, which presents as a sheet, a sort of filigree, rather than lumps. Who knew? I'm now the world expert on this. I've just completed 3 months of chemotherapy, and I have to say that's fairly brutal. And very soon I'll be undergoing major surgery at the Royal Marsden Hospital in London. Now, I can't see what you're seeing on the big screen, but if you're thinking, well, she's not looking so bad to me, let me tell you, that's because of the wizardry of our darling Dom, his extraordinarily cinematographic skills, and the fact that he's just taught me how to deploy every single one of the MacBook Air filters, so I don't frighten the horses. I'm going to be okay, or at least they keep telling me that. I'm going to be okay. The remedy is tough, but my cancer is treatable and curable. They caught it in time. But it's made me think. So here's something for you to ponder over the next few days. This conference is devoted to well-being. And yet, how often do you, in your life, allow the urgent, usually other people's urgent, to prevail over what's important for you? If you spent as much time managing your own health, wellness and well-being as you spend on ensuring a successful outcome for other people's problems, you'd all be Olympians. Even when you're feeling and looking well, and this is something that I've learnt, even when you're feeling fit, healthy, full of joie de vivre, You never know what's lurking underneath the surface. When we talk about health, wellness, and well-being, there's always these people telling you what to be eating, what to be drinking, and the fact that you most certainly should not be smoking. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm here to tell you something else, and it's this, that even if you have no obvious physical symptoms, even if there are no clear warning signals, please, please, please go to your regular checkups. Get yourself regularly screened. Those of you who know me better know that for a couple of years, 2018 and 19, I spent as a fellow at Stanford University at the Distinguished Careers Institute, studying at the Center for Longevity, where we were having a look at the issues surrounding extended life expectancy. And the big issue around life expectancy or extended life expectancy, which is most important, is that the three things that help us along the road are wellness and purpose and community. But here's the thing, when the wellness element of that happy trinity is compromised, the other two issues kick in big time. My wellness is compromised at the moment, but my purpose has become even clearer. And my purpose today for you is please to encourage each and every one of you to look after your health as a number one priority. Get yourself checked, get yourself looked after. Community. I always speak about community when I come to Euro gatherings, because the power of community is what has seen me through this rather grim journey, especially my friends from Euro who are constantly reaching out to me to amuse me, to make me feel better, and to show me that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Ask people for support, emotional support, if not physical support. It's key to your wellness and well-being. Now, I've been telling you about a physical illness, and however grim physical illnesses may be, they are at least sort of tangible. They are easy to describe. They're easy to put a label on. People understand them. I have cancer. I have a broken leg. I have pneumonia. I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't got all three of those, but I'm just saying they're easy to put a label on physical illnesses. It's far more difficult when you have a mental health issue, because that's not easy for people to see. Neither is it easy for you to articulate. Far more difficult, therefore, for other people to grasp, and far more difficult for other people to give you support unless you reach out to them and ask them for support. In a moment, I'm going to hand you over to Ben Jones. Now, the other year in an Ignite session, Ben told you about his journey, his issues with mental health, his vulnerability, and his reaching out eventually for help. His insights into red flags, warning signals, how to show your vulnerability and ask for help are key. And he's been given a wider session and a wider community to speak to today. And for that, fantastic. So my only message to you today, and this is your plan, please make this your plan for the next few days, is please listen to me. Get yourself checked out. Listen to Ben. Ask for help. And please, most important of all, listen to yourself, your own mind, your own body, and take time in this well-being conference here in Zagreb to listen to your own physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual needs. That is what this conference is all about. And please, make the most of it. And now let me hand you over to the very capable hands of Ben Jones.
12 months ago, I stood on a stage similar to this, in a room similar to this, for 5 minutes, with the aim of encouraging people to be more vulnerable and showing them the strength in their vulnerability, not just for themselves, but for the people around them as well. In doing so, I had to be vulnerable myself. I also had to limit the amount of time I spoke for to just 5 minutes, something that traditionally I'm not very good at. So I want to thank Euro for being a bit more gracious with their time today. Now, if you were in the room 12 months ago, you might remember that I shared with you that every single year, 700,000 people lose their lives to suicide. Of those 700,000 people, over 500,000 of them are men. In fact, if you are a man aged 45 and under in this room now, there is nothing more likely to take your life than suicide. In 2012, one of those men who lost their lives to suicide was my friend Luke. A typical story of someone who was the life and soul of a party, someone who had great friends, a loving family, and a brilliant job, but ultimately someone who suffered in silence. Now, this should have been the ultimate wake-up call for me. I was also someone who suffered in silence with my own mental health. I'd struggled with anxiety for as long as I could remember, but I'd become an expert at hiding it. Now, if you're wondering what suppressed anxiety looks like in a grown man working in sales, it involves such highlights as fainting during the scan for my first daughter, worrying about all the things that could possibly go wrong. It involved having a panic attack whilst walking through Central Park in New York for no apparent reason. But more often than not, it involved an awful lot of telling people that I was okay when I wasn't. It was only on the day that I started to answer the question, how are you, truthfully and honestly, that I was able to change my life. And now it is my privilege to encourage other people to do the same. When I got back from Euro last year, I felt incredibly proud of what I've been able to speak about. I felt more connected with this community than I ever had before, and I was asked to speak at 3 further events about the same subject. So many of you, and a lot of you are in this room now, reached out to me with your own stories of vulnerability, things that you had connected with in the things that I have told. And it reminded me that we are not in the minority. Statistically speaking, there are more people in this room that have suffered with anxiety or depression than have not. It also reminded me, though, that amongst all of the frightening statistics, and there are many, there are so many positive things that we can reflect on as well. The fact that we are here at a conference focusing on your well-being, with a community of people better equipped to have this conversation than any other industry that I know. Not just today, tomorrow, but in the weeks and the months that will pass after we all fly home at the end of the week. Because the reality is, as Francis referred to, our mental health, much like our physical health, is a work in progress. We can't expect to spend 12 months in the gym watching what we eat to then stay in the same shape for the next 5 years if we stop going to the gym and eating McDonald's every day. Other fast food chains are available. When I got back from Euro last year, I was faced with another challenge in my personal life, something that I would have to navigate for myself and for my children. It was time for me to practice what I preach. It would be another test of my mental strength. But I found it easier to slip back into my old ways, convincing myself and other people around me that I was okay. So often it's easier to encourage other people to do something than to do it ourselves. How often have you been in a situation where you've maybe heard of someone feeling unwell and you immediately encourage them to go and see a doctor? But how often have you felt unwell yourself and quickly convinced yourself that there is no doctor required? I was speaking to someone who's in this room now, and he asked me how I was when we were talking about what I was going through. And I very confidently told him I was absolutely fine and I'd be okay. And he said, "Ben, you're going to have to start listening to your own advice soon. You're not being very vulnerable." And he was right, I wasn't. That person still checks in on me now, normally with 2 questions. The first one is, "How are you?" which he will insist that I answer honestly. And the second one, "Is there anything that I can do?" Now, more often than not, the answer to the second question is no. But we must never underestimate the power of someone's presence in a situation like that. It's not that we need them to do something for us, but it's knowing that they are there to do something if we need them. Someone else who's in this room as well introduced me to an incredible theory that I want to share with you today. And it focuses on how we can offer and receive support with our well-being. And it's known as the 8-minute theory. And it's based around the fact that human psychology tells us that 8 minutes is all a person needs to feel seen, feel heard, and feel supported in any given situation. So often with our mental health and well-being, it can feel overwhelming to even ask for help. It can feel overwhelming to offer our support when we may be going through things ourselves. But if 8 minutes is all we need, then that means we just have to find a way to communicate that that's what we have. Now, short of explaining this theory to everyone that you know, which would make it very easy, just be conscious of how you're asking for help or how you're offering for help. If I send a friend of mine a message and I say, hey, you're around for a coffee next week, that message might be received as casually as I've sent it. But if I say, hey, are you around next week? I really need to speak to you, his response may be different. So often the biggest problem with communication is the assumption that it has happened in the first place. Once I started to open up about what I was going through, I spoke to more people, and a lot of you are in this room now. With every conversation, every WhatsApp, every coffee, every virtual coffee, I was starting to feel myself again and put myself back together. These are people that I did not know 5 years ago, who are now helping to shape the very next phase of my life. As Francis said, the power that sits in this room is something that should never be underestimated. This is a community not just for professional growth, but for things that expand way beyond that as well. So if you're sitting here in this room and this is your first conference, please know that you're about to embark on one of the most brilliant weeks of your career so far. In fact, if this is your first conference, it may be that you felt some nerves or anxiety leading up to this week. I know that I did when I went to Seville for the first time a few years ago. But be assured that feeling nervous does not mean that you are unprepared. It merely means that you care about something that is beyond your control. The very definition of anxiety is a feeling of worry, unease, or nervousness about a situation with an uncertain outcome. So if the outcome is uncertain, sometimes we just have to wait and see what happens. This is something that comes much easier to some than others. I am firmly in the others category. For most of my life, I've become an expert catastrophizer. For those of you that are lucky enough not to know what that means, catastrophizing is where you can imagine every worst possible outcome of a given situation. When I was writing my presentation for Ignite last year, I found myself slipping back into these old ways, asking myself those questions. What if I forget my words? What if it's too sad? What if it's not sad enough? What if I fall over the stage? What if I miss my plane to Villamora? What if I don't miss my plane, but my plane misses the runway? And you can see how these lists can escalate. But I had a tool for this, something that I learned in therapy. And the first thing to do is accept that you're going to catastrophize. If that's something you've done all your life, it's very hard to shake off that urge. But once you've made your big scary list, now write the opposite list. What are the very best things that can come of that situation? What if I do remember my words? What if it's just the right amount of sad? What if I connect with just one person in that room and it encourages them to be vulnerable and speak up about how they're feeling? What if by being vulnerable on a stage, someone recognizes when I need to be more vulnerable and can offer me the support back that I need? And the beauty of this theory is we're always far more likely to achieve the positive outcome than the negative outcome. We don't realize how much power and freedom of choice we have in our own lives. Choose to be kind, choose to be present, choose to say no to the things that you don't have the energy for in that time. A wise person said, if you never say no, then what value is your yes? So on today, the first day of this conference, I want you to choose what your week is going to look like. Choose to make new connections. Choose to reconnect with people. Choose to learn. Choose to have fun. And choose to be open to new opportunities. Carl Jung said, if you are not the star in your movie, then you will merely be the extra in somebody else's. So if this is your first conference or your 21st conference, I want you to be the star in your movie this week. Imagine all of the brilliant things that could happen, and you might be surprised by how many of them come true. Thank you very much.
Amazing, mate. Ben ran off so that I couldn't say anything that was going to make him uncomfortable. When we were informed by Frances that she wasn't going to make it this year, and we came up with a contingency plan, Simon and I pitched this idea for Ben to speak at one of our meetings, and it was met with an overwhelming response of, yes, let's go do that. So I would like to give another round of applause for Ben, because this is a very difficult thing to do, and you're amazing. Everybody in this room, Ben, is really lucky to have you. Somebody even went, oh. All right. Now, before I hand over to the most important part of the opening, which is Tad's housekeeping rules, there's... Pardon? I know. I'm going to try that again, Tad, if you let me finish this. Okay. Before I hand over to the most important part of the conference, which is Tad's housekeeping rules, I have been entrusted with two responsibilities, and the first one of those is to thank a lot of people that you're going to hear from me now. The first company I'd like to thank is our conference sponsor, Court. Court has been our conference sponsor for quite a long time, and we have Mike, Jeff, Lee, Melissa, Ken, and Tim in the room, and would like to express our heartfelt gratitude for the fact that you've been so loyal and so great for Eura over such a long time. Thank you. However, Court are, of course, supported by a lot of other sponsors that make our conference work, so I'd like the AV to just give us a quick conference sponsor film, please. A further thank you to all of our speakers, volunteers, Eura strategic consultants, of which are also in the room, our Eura mentors, and everybody that helps to create and collaborate to make this conference what it is. A massive thank you to Missing Link, headed by Michael Vermark, for putting together all of the AV, Alex Reed, our photographer, who keeps lurking somewhere to try and take your perfect picture, and of course, most importantly, thank you to all of you for being here. It's our pleasure as the executive group to welcome you here, to make sure that you're a delegate, and to make sure that you enjoy this conference. Now, as Tad said, I have a second responsibility, which means that I am very fortunate to be able to introduce you to our charity. As many of you may know, and for our newcomers, a little bit of information, every year we support a local charity. And this year we will be supporting the Dom Nade House of Hope, and Daniel and Mariana are here to share a little bit about their charity. Come on.
Usually when I find a microphone in front of me, it's because I have to sing. I'm on a gig. I'm not used to speak at conference, but we are very privileged to be here, and we are honored that we are invited to this conference. How many of you have been to Croatia before? Oh, lots of you. Okay. Well, Welcome to sunny Zagreb, all of you. Today the sun has decided to be somewhere over the gray clouds, but it will come up eventually. Let me just introduce ourselves. We are husband and the head. We come from the city, we live in a city where Nikola Tesla, already mentioned, scientist, did his high school. So that's why we are so smart. As Sofia said, Mariana and I are the founders of the NGO, non-profit organization called House of Hope in 2012. And that year is important because until then, we worked with the homeless people. Until that year, the homeless were not recognized as category legally in the terms of Croatian laws. They were recognized as drifters. So that was the year when we were established, and that was the year when we start our project of daily shelter for the homeless people in Zagreb, which was the first in Zagreb, and I may say even in Croatia. And even after 13 years of work, it has been an innovative project because there are not many organizations and not many projects as such. I guess that this is the 13 years of our work, and I guess that the 13 is our lucky number. Since I said that homeless were not recognized legally as a category, we decided to be their voice, and secondly, to provide them a fish. As a proverb says, give a man a fish, and you will feed him a day. And if you teach them to fish, then you will feed them a lifetime. So that was basically our intention. And our vision is accordingly inclusive society in which every person has the opportunity to live a life worthy of human being. The theme of this conference is well-being, so that was our theme also. Our mission is helping those in need until it is needed anymore, while respecting the values of humanism, altruism, philanthropy, empathy, inclusivism, equality, fairness, tolerance, appreciation of diversity, respect for others and those who are different. Our aims is promoting Christian, and because we are theologians, we put Christian, but those are actually universal values, so-called the golden rule. Love your neighbor as yourself and do to them what you are expecting from others to do to you. Maybe the most important aim is social, human and charitable work with a special emphasis on the problem of social inclusion, homelessness and extreme poverty. Connecting and developing sectoral and intersectoral cooperation in the country and abroad. Public awareness, promoting the values of activism and volunteerism, and engaging in social entrepreneurship. Now I will let Mariana to say a few words to you.
Hello, everybody. I want to read a few sentences from our beneficiaries. The thing is that we never expected that we will last so long. We hoped that we will not be necessary after a while. And when I talk to our beneficiaries as a social mentor, I usually say to them, hopefully I will not see you anymore after this day. Why? Because I hope that they will stand on their own 2 feet, they will realize that they are worthy, that they will manage to overcome all the burdens, all the anxieties and their problems, and that they will realize that they can move on from this point where they are stuck. Some are stuck for a day, some are stuck for a week. Hopefully we can help them to overcome their fears and burdens and to re-socialize into society again. Some of them come after a while. Some of them usually manage to free themselves from their addictions, from their fears of living a normal life. But what is normal? I mean, it's a definition that all of us consider differently. So they come and they say, well, when we come to House of Hope, we know that we can talk to someone. We are heard, we are validated, we are acknowledged, and somebody wants to help us. And they usually say, thank you for never giving up on me, for recognizing something in me that I don't even recognize myself. I'm trying to help them to see themselves as we see them, as people who are, valuable to others, to help them to reunite with their families, because each and every one of us, considering our wellness, our well-being, we can, get sick, we can lose a job, we can, get a divorce or something, and we never know what can happen the next day, but we need to, as Francis said, we need to consider that we are worthy, we need to take care of our well-being, because many people who are on the streets have mental issues and they just need to be heard, they just need to be seen. And usually I like to hug them. People ask me, oh, you're hugging homeless people. And I say, yes, inclusion and embrace, because people need to be touched, hugged, and acknowledged. So we are helping them with social services. We are helping them doing their hygiene. We are helping them to stand on their own 2 feet, to give them a safe place where they can shelter during the day. And we are very grateful for even being given the opportunity to do it as a couple, because as different as we are, I believe that we do a lot by doing it differently. So I want to thank everyone for giving us this opportunity to talk and to say more about our work. And what can you do to support the House of Hope? Well, there is a silent auction. There will be what can we do next, education survey, networking and merch. But Ted will say more about that.
Thank you very much. You did extremely well. Thank you very much indeed. Well, if you ask me, for people who are not used to public speaking, they did very well indeed. So, as mentioned, silent auction, the Where Next cards, the education survey. If you complete that, we give money to the charity, not you. The networking, the first of which occurred this morning. Here is the evidence. It is at 7:15, so for those of you who rise nice and early and want to go for a bit of a walk, in order to support your well-being, get out there tomorrow and Thursday. And of course, we have our merch. The aforementioned umbrellas, because obviously it's so sunny here at the moment, you need an umbrella. Sunglasses, which probably nobody will want to buy on the basis that the sun is shining above the clouds. We also have some new Euro t-shirts, and we have some court, I call them tote bags, but they're lovely court bags, and they're extremely nice. They have court always do a picture for the conference, and this time, instead of doing one picture and letting one person win it, they did the picture and put it on the bags, and they are much sought after. So come and find us and purchase one of those. Now, nice slide, isn't it? Housekeeping. Number 1. I'm already breaking the rule. Wear your badge. We would also prefer it if you didn't take meetings with people who don't seem to have a badge at all. That would be we'd be very grateful for that. If you have not downloaded the app, please download it. There is a scavenger hunt. There are QR codes on all the stands, which you can click, and you can get extra points by buying merchandise and going to discuss the EGQS or the MIM program, or having a chat with Gordon about legal issues, who are all sitting in the Imperial Cafe, which is next to the registration desk. Don't forget, tomorrow is Workshop Wednesday. Check the app for where your workshop is happening, and if you're going to the corporate housing workshop, a bus or buses will leave from the front of the hotel at, I think it's 9 o'clock, but check the app. Oh, thank you, Bryony. But check the app for the exact time. On the subject of buses, I believe some of you didn't realise that we'd laid on a bus from the West End this morning. Apparently it arrived empty, so well done for getting here in other means. We do think about you, you know. There will be a bus going back to the West End. I can't quite remember what time it is, but go on the app. It's under resources, and apparently it's the left-hand menu. So there's a bus home tonight. There'll be a bus tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, and the same on Thursday. And also, for those of you staying in the West End and coming to the gala dinner, we have laid on a bus to leave from the West End, so that you do not have to totter down here in your high heels to catch a bus. Oh, that's the ladies, by the way. If they want to. What else? Yes, and then we won on Thursday going to the party night, so we've sorted that out for you. We also have more networking spaces. Behind this stage, there's a room which, although it will be used for lunches and things, is also a place you can go and network. The Imperial Lounge, the Imperial Cafe I just mentioned, has got some networking space in there. I noticed that you've all found the mezzanine and, of course, the lobby. So there are plenty of spaces to network. But, of course, if you want to look after your well-being, pop out for a coffee with somebody and have your meeting out there, or indeed have your meeting at 7:15 during a net walk. Finally, in terms of the programme, please take time to come to sessions. A lot of people have worked very hard to put them on. Also, can we please have as much feedback as possible? There's a way to feedback after each session on the app. And finally, just to remind you that lunch is out here. It's behind me here. It's up on the mezzanine. We've got lunch everywhere. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to find that lunch. So I think at this point, we've come to the end. Oh, hold on. Haven't we? No, we haven't. But perhaps you better come up here.
I can't believe after 6 years, it's finally my time to correct Tad. I've been waiting for this, guys.
Yes.
We actually have some really, really big news to share. And we won't go into too much detail before you look at what we're going to show you, but for the very first time since the commemoration of the association, we have refreshed our visual brand identity. We've dropped some hints, but we'd love for the AV to roll a video, and then we'll talk about it later. Now, I don't know how many of you have actively been involved in a rebrand, but a rebrand or a refresh of your brand visually after 27 years is quite the journey. And we are very, very happy that the two people that formed this with their team, who we also refer to as the Brilliant Belgians, are in this room. Wim and Thijs are here. They're probably hiding, but Open Up Media, their company, has been supporting Euro throughout this process, coaching, making sure that everybody knew what was happening, and we'd love to give them a quick round of applause for all their work on this.
I don't really know what to say. This is amazing.
You're going to say a year in focus.
Oh, I beg your pardon. No, I was just thinking about the brand, actually. I have to say, it brought a lump to my throat the first time I saw that film. And it did it just now, but there we go. Anyway, we are breaking now for half an hour, and we are coming back to a session entitled Euro, a Year in Focus. So please enjoy your coffee. Have a very nice, quiet break. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you back in half an hour.